Tim Shurr, welcome to the show. Welcome to Become Your Own Superhero.
Thank you, Laban. It's always great to be with you.
Well, it's always great to be with you. And for those who don't know who I'm talking about, we are in the presence of whom I believe to be the greatest hypnotherapist or hypnotist. It's the same thing. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. The way that I use it, we're all experts in learning how to upgrade unconscious programming. So there are stage hypnotists or street hypnotists who are very good at doing the entertainment side of the business using hypnosis. But usually clinical hypnotists and hypnotherapists are actually doing the emotional healing work.
And I would say that's a great way to sum up some of the work you do, Tim. And as I've been learning more and more about you and the impact you've been able to have on the world, I'm truly humbled to have you on the show today. And for people listening that have struggled with addiction or trauma or some kind of major event in their life that hasn't served you very well, maybe, just maybe, this might be the podcast that might change your entire trajectory of how you live your life, because Tim Shurr is a man on a mission. But before we start, I'd love to know where the drive to do what you do came from.
Well, I started out 34 years ago with one question, which is, how do I get rid of my anxiety? How do I get rid of this self-doubt? How do I get rid of this feeling, later on that I would describe as imposter syndrome, right? Never feeling good enough, never feeling safe. Never playing to win, always playing not to lose, right? And how do I not get hurt? And how do I not run out of time or run out of money? How do I get people to like me or appreciate me or see my value or even just include me? And so originally, I wasn't out to try to transform the world. I was trying to transform mine and just figure out how to feel happy and peaceful and successful in life. And if it wasn't for this journey, I don't know where I'd be right now. But because of this journey, after all these years, I found the solution and maybe even the cure for anxiety and insecurity. And so now I'm on this mission to share what I've learned so I can help rid the world of needless emotional suffering.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah, it's a powerful movement because we're so wounded. So many of us, and most everybody, is walking around feeling wounded or broken or less than or not good enough. We have these core unconscious beliefs that I'm not safe or I'm not good or I'm not worthy, right? If the only luck I have is bad luck. And it has created so much anxiety and fear and overwhelm and burnout. And then with COVID and everything else that's going on in the world these days, it's just gotten really out of control.
One of the things that springs to mind, Tim, when I hear something like hypnotherapy to help with anxiety or depression or smoking or whatever, it took me until I actually had some firsthand experience being hypnotized that I sort of realized the power of it. But there's so many different modalities out there. Is it a case of there is multiple ways to heal in the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are multiple ways to heal. It's kind of like all roads lead to Rome, that old expression. And everybody is taking some basic core approaches and philosophies and then putting their own spin on it to try to figure out how we can improve it or make it a little bit better and a little more effective, a little bit more sustainable, the positive results. And I've done the same thing. And so out of all the different approaches that I've learned from getting my degrees in psychology and learning about hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming and EMDR and EFT and all the other, peak performance fields that were designed to help create, rapid breakthroughs in human behavior and human perception, I have figured out what I found works the best for me and for thousands of other people. I was lucky enough. Well, luck's not the right word, but because I worked my tail off, but I facilitated over 15,000 individual hypnosis sessions, 15,000 of them. It took decades to see that many people, not to mention all the groups, so there've been thousands of other people that I've helped using the group formats. And And I've created what I call this one belief away method. And the one belief away method is really just has a philosophy that you're just one belief away from having a huge, significant, impactful breakthrough in your life. You know, if you go from I'm not good enough to I am good enough, what suddenly becomes possible for you, right? If you go from, what if I fail to there is no failure, it's just feedback. And the more feedback I get, the more powerful I become. All of a sudden, your door of opportunity swings wide open. And you're able to start creating real miracles in your life, where before it feels like we're so stuck and frustrated because we don't know what to do, and it completely changes. And it doesn't matter what the goal is. I've helped people with every kind of goal you can imagine, and I'm not focusing on trying to treat all their symptoms. I'm focusing on upgrading these unconscious beliefs that were formed in our brain when we're kids without our permission. And, because we all go through what I call big T and little t traumas, right? Either being embarrassed or humiliated or not getting picked to be on the team or be included. Two people who've been through physical, verbal, sexual abuse, and, all kinds of horrible things that humans inflict upon one another. And it's not just those experiences, but the beliefs that form in our mind about what we think those experiences mean. So, and it happens, our brain just makes it up on its own. So this happened because I'm not good. I'm not safe. It's my fault. Dad yelled at me, and now I have this belief that if he doesn't like me, then how can I like myself? Right. Or, mom said one time, you're so stupid, you're never going to learn anything. And now it just seems like I can never learn anything. And so I've had 15 different jobs and careers because I can never seem to find something that I'm good at. Right. These beliefs just keep infecting us. And so I found a way to go and upgrade those beliefs immediately, without medication, without talk therapy, without taking years. Most of the time we can create a significant impact in about 30 minutes or less. And so it's changing the game and disrupting how we do therapy and counseling and personal development.
This is one of the many things that I love about you, Tim, like the work that you're doing. There is so many alternative options that people can pursue, but it seems from what I can tell and learning about you that the impact that you're able to have is immediate. And I wonder if you share, there's a story about the woman that you treated with the elevator. I wonder if you'd share that story.
Yeah. Wendy. Yeah, I remember Wendy. Sure. Yeah, I'd love to tell you that story. So Wendy came to one of my Design Your Destiny seminars a million years ago, and she had to have her family drive her there. Her sister and their kids and her kids drove her there because she had agoraphobia. She never left the house. She was afraid of small spaces. She had claustrophobia. And so it was a real event just to get her to the seminar. And it was a 3-day event, and it was a 4-day event. And on the 4th day of going through all these experiences, and this is before I developed the one belief away method, we finished the seminar and she said, I want to go on the elevator, right? And there was an elevator in the building, and she wanted to get on the elevator and go to the top floor, which was a big deal because it was a small space. And I loved it because I like testing it. I don't want to do a session and then hope it works. I want to find out right then and there, is this working? Right? Did we get the result we're looking for? And so I said, yes, let's do it. So we got on the elevator and the doors closed, and she grabbed my arm reflexively because she was just so like, oh my God, are we really doing this? And then I reminded her to do her power breathing and to shift and get into that right state of mind and to use what she had learned. And she did it. And she started getting to the top, and she was using that. And as she was coming down, she just felt so excited and liberated. It was amazing that it was happening. And of course, I was thrilled. So pause that story just for a moment. So her family came to pick her up, and they saw us. We did not see them. They saw us getting into the elevator. So they were like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? They expected her to have a total freak out and a meltdown. So they were all standing outside the elevator waiting to comfort her. Well, we didn't know that. So we're in the elevator. We get down to the first floor. The doors open, and Wendy and I both go, yeah. And we start screaming. We throw our arms up in the air. Well, we did that, and their family saw us, and they did it at the same time. They freaked out, and they're like, yeah. And everybody, like, I want to start crying every time I tell this story. and everybody is cheering, and she runs into them and they give them a big hug. It was like this beautiful, perfect Hallmark moment. And everybody's jumping up and down and crying and so happy. And I was just, happy too. It was just awesome. And then, Wendy would, a couple of weeks later, she sent me pictures because her son had moved halfway across the country and she hadn't been able to see him because she wouldn't get on an airplane. And she was sending me pictures from her son's house. She had been on an airplane. She went to visit him, and I was getting pictures of her. And that's how this stuff that we do is creating sustainable change. It wasn't just in the moment, Laban. It was on a plane weeks later, and then months later, and then years later, she'll check in and say hi and read a post in my newsletter and stuff like that, and talk about how, that seminar changed her life. And so, yeah, it was a pretty amazing experience.
When was the last time you heard from Wendy?
It's probably been a couple of years, because I'm sure that experience happened 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. So it's been a little while, but, luckily the clients that have had almost all of my clients have had pretty spectacular breakthroughs, but some of them are just really amazing stories. And so the people that have been through that often, we've been able to stay in touch.
You have any other favorite memories of the work that you've been able to perform?
Yes. So I remember the local meteorologist, the weatherman, had a spider phobia, and he was in the middle of doing the weather and on Fox News here in our Indianapolis station. And the anchorman, Ray, was getting ready to do this bit about spiders and had a tarantula on his arm. And Jim saw that spider and freaked out and ran out in the middle of the broadcast, ran right out, and so of course everybody was making fun of him on the radio and everything else. So I called up the station because I heard Jim on an interview saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be a big deal, but my dad saw me do that. And so now I'm a little embarrassed." So I called the station and I'm like, I can make Jim a hero. If you give me an hour with him, I could probably get that spider on his arm. And I didn't hear from him. They're like, "No, you're insane. That's not going to happen." Well, 3 months later, I get a call from the producer, and she says, "Hey, we were thinking that maybe we would do that with Jim. And, if you could just get him next to the spider, in the same room." And I said, "I really think I could get it on his arm, and really show how you can conquer your fears." And she almost hung up on me. She told me later, she says, "I thought you were out of your mind and I didn't want to bring you on the show." So I get there and they want to do all these promos, right? Building up to it and all the stuff. And I'm like, I need to actually work with Jim. I was supposed to have an hour with him. By the time we got done, I had 10 minutes. And they wanted to film that too. And I'm like, "You got to get out of here. I need 10 minutes in this room with Jim." And luckily he was suggestible, and I hypnotized him and I hit him with every tool and every technique I had. And 10 minutes later, we were there with all the anchor people, and Jim had a tarantula sitting on his arm.
That's awesome.
How about that?
And
yep, on live TV, right? Is the power of the mind. And we turned Jim into a hero.
And for those that are screaming out at Tim, yes, we know it's arachnophobia is the technical term for fear of spiders, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. That's right.
And the only reason I know that is off that horrendous movie that came out in the 90s that scared the pants off most people.
Steven Spielberg. Yeah, that movie was horrible. Yes.
I was going to ask you a question about health, about hypnotizing people into putting things like cancer. And we haven't prepared for this interview, so I'm really putting you on the spot. Is there any work that you've been able to do that's had beneficial results with regards to health improvement?
Oh, yeah. So like Kathleen came to see me. I've done 10,000 hypnosis sessions just for weight loss alone. Because when you're a hypnotist, everybody comes to you to help you stop smoking and lose weight. So I've done more of that than anything else besides the work with anxiety and trauma over the years. And so, I have thousands of stories of helping people over the age of 50 who are lifelong dieters and could never lose the weight or keep it off, that were sugar addicts and chocoholics and you name it. And, food obsessed. And we busted them out of that and gave them that food freedom. And they lost a lot of weight. And so I've helped thousands of people lose tens of thousands of pounds, and they were able to keep it off, because it's not about dieting. It's not about that. It's about these beliefs that are running in our mind. And so Kathleen came to see me, and she was about 300 pounds. And she said, diets don't work for me. I can't lose weight. It's impossible. So can you just, help me to become a happy fat person? Because I'm tired of being miserable all the time. And then she started crying. And I knew, Laban, that that's not what she wanted. She wanted to be a more fit, thinner, happy person. And so that's what we focused on. Instead of hypnotizing her to eat broccoli, we got in there and we started upgrading those beliefs of I'm not worthy. She had a belief that I'm not worthy. If I'm not worthy of taking care of myself, then I'm not going to make myself a priority. I'm not going to put the energy into myself. And then she would sabotage herself and go right back to eating the food, because in her brain, that was the love and the comfort, because she didn't know how to get it any other way. And so when we updated those beliefs, it was 10 months, she lost 154 pounds in 10 months. And
wow.
She said that even when she lost the weight, I looked like a totally different person. She said, even when I lost the weight, the feelings of self-love that I have, that I've never had my whole life, are more important and feel better than even the weight loss. And so I put all my best weight loss strategies into a book I released this year called Losing Weight Without Losing Your Mind. It's on Amazon. And, it's an amazing way of retraining your brain so that you live a more health conscious lifestyle. And again, it really isn't about, there's an old book that's called It's Not What You're Eating, It's What's Eating You. And I was so heavily influenced by that book. And it turns out that that is exactly the case.
So this is really interesting. I've been very open about this, Tim. I've brought guests on the show many, many times to help me with the challenges I've got going in my life. That wasn't my deliberate intention with this. You were a wonderful guest on my wife's podcast, the World's Best Trauma Recovery Podcast, and I've enjoyed that a couple of times on my runs. About some of my weight loss journey, and I lost 60 pounds of body fat originally, and then put on a heap of muscle, like 30 pounds over a few years. And in the last, let's say 8 months since we left Australia, the weight has crept back up again. Mm-hmm. What are the most common causes for that, for someone who's gone through and done a heap of work, has worked so hard on the self-love component? Do you know what's going on there?
Yeah. So one of the challenges for everybody is that 80% of the foods out there have sugar in it. I mean, I've heard that they added sugar to salt. Right? God, I mean, they have added sugar in some form to 80% of the foods that we consume. So even when you're doing a really good job and you feel like you're eating a well-balanced meal and you're eating organic foods and everything, there is still so much hidden sugar that the calories add up. So now this is because you said that I focus so much on the self-love and I've taken care of that part, which most people have never really addressed that. That's their biggest culprit. That's the reason they keep going back to the devil they know, because it makes them feel comforted. But if you have resolved those issues and you really are passionate and excited about eating healthy and fresh and eating foods that came from a plant or a tree or the ground or the sea, that's for me, instead of a can, bottle, or box, right? So when you are eating that way and you've associated pleasure to it, and your new treats and rewards and comfort foods are guacamole and carrots with peanut butter and apples and all that good stuff, salads and salmon and things like that, then the only other part of it is the fitness. And a lot of times with fitness, people do it too much, and then they get an injury, or they burn out, or it's not fun for them. And so they stop doing it, as opposed to doing a little bit every day consistently. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on for you, but that is usually one of the three things. It's either there's still too much sugar in the food that you're eating, you're not consistently doing fitness, or there's still some beliefs in there that are causing stress and anxiety, and that releases cortisol in your body and shuts down fat loss. So those are usually the three.
I think it's the latter, because when I say I've done a lot of the work, the last 9 months have been incredibly stressful. I mean, some of our story, Anna's story, and leaving Australia under duress. And I realized, and I was getting a remedial massage from Luis, the masseuse. And
nice.
My God, I got more knots in my back than a bloody scout den. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, it's stress. So let's assume it is that. I know the bad stuff when I eat it because I normally do it in ginormous quantities, right? They sell Haagen-Dazs at Sam's Club here in like 3-liter quantities. It doesn't last very long. So let's assume it is the cortisol. What are some basic self-hypnotic techniques that I can use to help build some momentum?
So one of the tools that I use a lot is what I call the jump ahead, right? And the jump ahead just means when people are wanting to eat and struggle with weight loss and struggle with eating healthy, there's usually 2 steps. Step 1 is, I think I want this. And step 2 is it's in my mouth, right? Where people who are pretty healthy and fit and active, they have 3 steps. So step 1 is, I think I want it. Step 2 is, how am I going to feel 30 minutes from now? Am I going to have energy or am I going to be tired? Am I going to feel motivated and get stuff done, or am I going to want to procrastinate because now I've got the fatigue and the head bobbing and I can't keep my eyes open? Am I going to move closer to my goal, or am I going to feel like I just got pushed farther away? And so that moment where you have just a few seconds where you can actually make a different decision. It's in that moment that you jump ahead and you say, how am I going to feel? And you actually try to get a feeling, right? So, between the diabetics and the alcoholics in my family, I was born with a whole set of sugar teeth. I don't just have a sugar tooth. I got a whole set, right? And so I have had to work really a lot at making sure that I'm not in the closet when I'm stressed out, chugging a bag of M&Ms. Okay. And so, or the ice cream, right? Or the pizza or whatever it may be. And so I have associated, I hate being tired because, I've got lots of life to live. I don't want to wear out. I don't want to rust out. I want to wear out. Right. So I'm always going after big goals and helping people in big ways and making things happen and moving the next mountain. And so I need all the energy that I can muster. And so I look at everything before I put it in my body, and I think, is this going to make me feel energized or not? I used to live on Mountain Dew and Diet Cokes. No way, because they make me feel tired afterwards. No way. Give me the water. Right. And so that's what I go through. My mind now is sorting by energy. How's this going to make me feel? If it makes me feel good and energized afterwards, not in the 5 seconds that it's in my taste buds, or even the 3 seconds that it's in your mouth, because there's no taste buds in your throat or your stomach. So you get 3 seconds of mouth pleasure with the ice cream, and then you got all the dairy and the sugar sitting in your stomach for the next 2 or 3 hours, making you feel like crap. To me, it's just not worth it. Right. And so, instead, I'll focus on, I'm going to have those apple slices with peanut butter. I'm going to have that guacamole, or I'm going to have some other treat. I'm going to get some frozen grapes, take some grapes, throw them in the freezer. Then when you want that cold, fun, taste and something sweet, you eat the grapes. It doesn't skyrocket your glycemic index like the ice cream does. And it actually gives you energy afterwards. So that's a really powerful technique that you can use. The jump ahead.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that a lot. I have been listening to this short little hypnotherapy file that you sent me.
The audio program.
Right. And that has made a massive impact. And I remember when you were talking to Anna on her podcast, how I'd had hypnotherapy to give up sugar a few years ago, and then I'd started back. And you mentioned that it takes commitment, at least initially, to help build that momentum. How important is that commitment from a hypnotherapy point of view?
Well, repetition is essential, because all the habits we have are because we repeatedly did them until it became an automated response in our brain. And so people, I laugh, they will say, well, how long do I have to do this? I'm like, well, how long do you want to feel happy and successful? Right. So the latest cognitive research says that it takes 61 days in a row of doing something for your brain to carve a new neural pathway in there that creates an automated response, a habit, right? 61 days in a row. And then you want to have some reinforcement after that. It doesn't have to be every day, but you still want reinforcement. I think of it this way. If you're driving down the highway and you're going 55 miles an hour, how long do you have to keep your hands on the steering wheel before you can just let go? Well, I think you always have to have your hands on the steering wheel if you want to arrive safely at your destination, right? And so even these self-driving cars have accidents. Yeah. So I think that you are always going to be mindful of your thoughts. But that's why you've got to listen to something. And with my audio programs, you literally, I call it lay and play, right? They're on MP3 format. You send them to your phone and you lay down to go to sleep at night. You push play, and then that's all you have to do. I mean, people are always wanting an easy button. It doesn't get it easier than lay down, close your eyes, let me train your brain while you're sleeping.
And I will admit, I've drifted off asleep a couple of times.
Sure, and, that's normal.
It's right. So I'm glad to hear that. And there's a word that you use and the way that you say it that made me smile a few times. And I was curious to know whether it's deliberate, like NLP. And it's like, you say the word away, you go, away, or something like that. Is that deliberate, or is that just a Tim Shurrism?
Yeah, no, that's every time I'm saying a word or I'm not saying anything and I'm using dramatic pause, right? It's all very intentional because I'm setting the mood and I'm creating emotion and I'm locking different feelings in, and the way that I'm using language to create images and emotional responses inside and anchoring them in at the right times. You know, it's all very strategic.
But for people like me that love taking bold, massive, and strategically courageous action and wanted to get some one-on-one time with you, how much more effective would you say one-on-one sessions with you? I don't even know if you do them anymore, but versus reading your book, for example.
Yeah, well, I have two options because not everybody can afford to do private coaching, which is fine. So I put all my best strategies in books and audio programs and things like that. I mean, most of my hypnosis audio programs are $20. So very affordable, right? So private coaching is more, obviously, but it's the same as watching or reading a book on how to swim versus getting in the pool with Michael Phelps, right? Who has won more gold medals in swimming than anybody in history, right? And so that's what it's like. So it's significantly more powerful if I spend time with you one-on-one or in a group, because I can see your blind spots. I can feedback stuff for you and that would take you years to figure out, and I'll spot it immediately because I'm well trained to do that. And then, of course, I can also customize what we're doing for you specifically based on what I've known about you and what I've picked up, you know, in our conversations. And so it's extraordinarily effective for those who are able to do it. I mean, my biggest expense every year is on coaches. I'm always hiring coaches, you know, to help me with personally or with marketing or, you know, whatever else I'm doing, because coaching, personal coaching, having someone with you to go through it gets you results faster than anything else you can do on your own.
And because you are so humble, Tim, like your book, One Belief Away, which you co-wrote with Dr. Joe Vitale, like these are big names, and you're on the phone to Les Brown this morning, and you and I have got lots of mutual friends in the space. Blaine Bartlett and well, just an amazing network of people. Like, you are the real deal, right? And you've done the work. I would love to do some one-on-one with you. I think the impact that the small amount of hypnosis that I've had and as studying hypnotherapy would be really beneficial for what I want to achieve. Because the biggest challenge I have with this whole thing, Tim, is that when you go through a major transformation like I've gone through, and then all of a sudden you have a slip up, there's kind of like, it's out of alignment, right? It's out of alignment. It's like, oh, I know what I'm doing is wrong. It's not like I don't know. Mm-hmm. I know what I'm doing is wrong, but there is a blind spot there. And maybe the stress, you know, the cortisol side of things, when you think about what I've had to endure the last year or so, my God, it's no wonder I haven't killed myself, right?
Oh. I mean, listen to the language, right? I mean, there was so much stress. No wonder I, didn't kill myself. That kind of stress, is an underlying loop in our mind, and we're aware it's there, but we're not aware of how much it's impacting us. Right. And so high level, and when you're an achiever like you, and when you're gutsy and courageous and making bold moves and doing what you've done, which takes an incredible amount of courage to do, you're used to the high stress and you're used to the pressure, which makes it even more challenging to recognize it. Because when you stand in the fire all the time, like you and Anna do, it's, you get used to it. Right. And so we don't realize, holy crap, I'm on fire right now, and not in a good way. Right. And so you're right. As you have grown so much, you recognize that, you have a new identity that you have cultivated for yourself. And now you don't feel like you're in alignment with that because of the stress. Well, you just knowing that right now is a huge breakthrough, because now you know where you need to go next. I always say our biggest breakthroughs are hidden in the places we don't want to go, where we're resisting the most. So at least you know where to go next. And that in itself is exciting.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that a lot. And I just realized that I've been able to diminish the impact of the stress because of how well that I have handled it. But it still had that impact on me that I needed to confront, but wasn't aware of. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I spent a lot of time with high achievers, and as driven as we are and as much as we can handle, it still gets to you. Right. It still adds up over time. And even though we're accomplishing more in a week than most might accomplish in a year, we're still, human, and we all have our stuff. And, when you get knocked down a lot, it does start to mess with you a little bit. And having that tough guy or tough gal mentality isn't always a lot of times it's definitely needed, but not always. Sometimes asking for help and being vulnerable is what we need, not leaning in and getting tough and pushing through it. Sometimes pushing through it is the worst. We just had the Indianapolis 500 here, and those multi-million-dollar race cars, they're built for speed and performance, just like you. You're built to zip around and win, right? But they also have to have pit stops. If they don't pull over and literally stop to retread and refuel, they don't finish the race. And so those pit stops are just as important as zipping around the track.
What a wonderful analogy. That's really brilliant. I hadn't really thought about it like that. And it's so obvious because, the number of conversations that I have had with some super high achievers is that we all need help. And one thing I've noticed in my own life is that the better I am at receiving help, the more help I'm able to give others, in a beautiful dichotomy, right?
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
What else is really important to you, Tim, in your life?
Well, my family is always the first that comes to mind. So my oldest is 18. He just graduated high school, which is exciting. And my youngest just graduated middle school. And so, we've been going through a lot of changes here. And, we've gone through a lot of heartbreak and on Easter, we lost my mom's mom, and I lost my dad on the same day, so that was, and then we got COVID a week later. So life's been difficult and challenging for us. And so, but we keep looking for that rainbow. You don't get the rainbow without the rain. And everybody has their war stories and the experiences that beat us up. And so we just got to figure out how can we come back stronger and find greater purpose and look for the gratitude for, what we do have, and then have some kind of vision or mission that we're moving towards, because life is more beautiful when you have a sense of purpose. So my mission now that I'm working on, as helping people to get rid of needless emotional suffering and helping people overcome trauma. Yesterday, I'm not sure when this will actually air, but yesterday for me was a Memorial Day. For us was Memorial Day. And so I released my new documentary and the trailer for it. It's called One Final Mission. And we are on a mission to free veterans from post-traumatic stress. The VA just isn't cutting it with medications and the talk therapy. It's just not working. And 22 veterans take their own lives intentionally and unintentionally every single day. That's almost 1 hour every day. And that's horrible. And so I've been helping people and veterans for, decades to be able to overcome the PTSD very effectively. It's been incredibly successful. And so now we're putting together these One Final Mission seminars to help people in a big way, and internationally, to help people put their lives back together post-combat and deployment, and not just for the veterans, for the spouses as well, and the families, the moms and the dads who've also been traumatized from that, the kids who are now adults, but their parents went to Vietnam, and so they have been impacted by how their parents or their dad came back, not the same person. And so we're doing some really exciting work with them, and then building an army of healers, for those who want to continue to not just get helped, but help their fellow brothers and sisters. Then I'm teaching them my One Belief Away method. And, so that we can build an army of healers who will go out there and change the game, and set generations of people free.
This is so great, Tim. And my grandfather on my mother's side didn't touch a drop of alcohol until he was 30. He went and served in World War II. He came back and then turned into a horrendous human being who verbally, physically, and maybe more abused all 4 of the children, and has created this legacy of dysfunction in the whole family. And here I am trying to undo as much of the intergenerational stuff as I can. So the impact of you being able to prevent that kind of stuff taking place is so super important. And you're right, you can't do it by yourself, right? So we need more people to be able to take the reins on this. And so on that, who makes a great hypnotist? Who would make a great person to learn these skills and to do this stuff?
Well, anybody that has a big heart and who wants to help and is willing to be coachable can learn this, because it's not so much the hypnosis. Again, hypnosis is just a word. It's really an understanding. It's the art and science of understanding how your unconscious mind creates reality. And so I've created this OBA, this One Belief Away method, where literally it is a series of 8 experiences that I've written scripts for. And it's literally a manual, this priceless manual that anybody can sit down and read it and take people through these experiences, and it changes their life. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. I put that much into it because I've had that much experience and work with so many people that I have figured it out. And so, my last class, I had lawyers and I had businessmen and I had veterans in there. And, I've trained teachers and counselors and business coaches and authors and speakers and, psychologists and, anybody that wanted to learn, firefighters, police, anybody that wanted to have some better tools for communication and for healing people and for taking charge of their destiny. It's been a pretty amazing ride, and I feel like we're just getting warmed up now.
So where can people find all this stuff, Tim?
Yeah, we're working on rebuilding the timshurr.com site because we have so many funnels and so many programs, and we're working right now to put it all in one place to keep it simple, because I am kind of a content madman. I've created so much over the years. So, but if you want to learn more about the One Final Mission, whether you're a veteran or you're just someone who wants to heal from the traumas of your past and break free from fear, go to timshurr.com/OFM, One Final Mission. timshurr, SHURR.com/OFM. And then you can watch the trailer and then sign up to watch the documentary, and it will take you through the whole experience. That will be a great start.
We will include those links below in whatever platform you're watching or listening to this. Tim, do you have any concluding thoughts for our audience today?
Yeah, I love that you have created a show where you can share what you've learned in your story. And Anna, she's extraordinary. You're such a power couple. You have such huge hearts and also super smart. And so I love the work that you're doing. It's been a real honor for me to be on this show with you today, and for me to be on hers as well. And so it's just awesome. And I want everybody to know that you, to quote Les Brown, you have greatness inside of you. You really do, that you are more than enough. And if you don't feel that way, we can shift that. I do have a free program that people can get a copy of. It's called The Power of Your Unconscious Mind. And if you go to timshurr.com/gift, GIFT, then you can download a copy of that. But just know that you are amazing. And the more you believe it and embrace it, the more you're, just like you said, Laban, the more you take care of yourself, the more you're able to help and serve others. And that's true. The more we love ourselves, the more we can be a force for good in this world. So always believe in yourself, because I believe in you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Shurr.